Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, and thank you for watching. Inshallah, in this short video, we'll try to summarize the main rulings and injunctions pertaining to Taraweeh and Qiyamul Layl. Taraweeh is the same as Qiyamul Layl, but this designation has been made for the Qiyamul Layl that is specific for the month of Ramadan. We all know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Whoever prays at night during the month of Ramadan with out of belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and out of anticipation for reward for this effort that he's making, Allah will forgive his previous sins. This definitely includes the minor sins, and most scholars say that it will alleviate the burden of major sins as well if he doesn't have minor sins. Like if the Qiyam has taken away all the minor sins and now he's left with only the major sins, it will alleviate the burden of that. And Imam Ibn Taymiyyah says no. He says actually Qiyamul Layl, especially in Ramadan, will expiate major and minor sins according to how much effort and how much sincerity, of course, the person displayed during his Qiyam. Now, the word Taraweeh itself comes from the root of tarweeha, means to take a break, to take some rest, because in Ramadan the salah is so long that people had to take a break between the first 4 rak'at and the second 4 rak'at. But even the 4 rak'at are not to be performed as a continuous 4, but as a set of 2 rak'at and 2 rak'at, then 2 rak'at and 2 rak'at. And then of course comes the witr, which is 3 rak'at, and that is divided into 2 rak'at with a salam, and then another separate rak'ah, and that would be the witr. That would be the shafa and witr. Shafa means the 2 rak'at, the first 2 rak'at, and then the 1 rak'ah that comes at the very end is the witr. As we all know, the Prophet ﷺ at his time only prayed Taraweeh Jama'ah for the Muslims for a few nights, maybe 2 nights, 3 nights, or 4 nights. Not more than 4 nights. Some scholars say 3 nights. But Prophet ﷺ in the Ramadans that occurred during his lifetime, he would pray alone at home, and then in those nights where people prayed behind him, it just happened that he went out to the masjid to pray and people started praying behind him. And then he prayed and raised his voice, they prayed behind him, and then the second night more people came, because during the daytime people started speaking, oh, the Prophet ﷺ was in the masjid praying Qiyamul Layl and we prayed behind him. The third night even more people, and then the Prophet ﷺ decided not to go out and pray in the masjid so that it doesn't become a fard on the people. Because if people and following generations hear that the Prophet ﷺ did the Taraweeh in Jama'ah every single night, then it may look that it has become a fard. Or if people display that they want this to be like a fard on them, maybe Prophet ﷺ was afraid that Allah would make it a fard on them. So he decided not to go out to lead the people in salah and left everybody to pray on their own. And this is how it was. Some people prayed at home, some people prayed in the masjid alone, some people prayed in the masjid but in small jama'ahs. A person who knew lots of Quran, some 2 or 3 people would pray behind him, and there would be more than one jama'ah. Until the time of Umar ibn Khattab came, after the time of Abu Bakr, because this was a condition during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, during the time of Abu Bakr, until the second half of the reign of Umar ibn Khattab, where he saw that people were praying alone or praying in a small jama'at. He says, why not pray together in one big jama'ah? And he assigned Ubay ibn Ka'b to be the imam, and he prayed Jama'ah Taraweeh for the people. And as you know, Ubay ibn Ka'b is one of the most eminent Quran scholars and memorizers of the Quran. So he prayed the Taraweeh 20 rak'at, and then he did witr of 3 rak'at, so 23 rak'at in total during the time of Umar ibn Khattab. Now, Prophet ﷺ during his lifetime, yes, he did that. So this is not a bid'ah, this is a sunnah. Prophet ﷺ has done it, but for a certain reason he did not continue to do it regularly. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq did not really have the time to do what Umar did, because Abu Bakr as-Siddiq for the whole 2 years he was there, he was so busy and the Sahaba were so busy dispersed throughout Arabia, fighting the armies of the apostates at the time. The Muslim Ummah only got the chance to become peaceful and well established at the time of Umar, and that is why many of the organizational matters of this Ummah came to be established during the time of Umar and Khattab radiallahu anhu. Also the Qiyamul Layl or any Sunnah in general, when you do Sunnah in general, it is for the benefit of the believer, because it expiates his sins and it makes up for the Farida, because our Farida, our Fard, the obligatory prayers, the 5 prayers are always deficient, and when we pray Nafil, optional additional prayers, that makes up for that. And also وَلَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ. The more you do nawafil, whether praying or fasting or sadaqat or whatever, then you gain the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this would be one of the greatest rewards that you can try to aspire for and aim for when you do the nawafil in general. The timing of Taraweeh or Qiyamul Layl in general is after Isha, from Isha till Fajr. So properly you should pray Isha, then you do the 2 sunnah of Isha, then you start Qiyamul Layl. Now, is it better to do it at the beginning of the night or later in the night? For those people, according to the hadith, for those people who are not sure they will wake up at the later part of the night or the latter part of the night, then they should better do it before they sleep and make sure they have done it. And this was actually the habit of some major Sahaba like Abu Bakr Siddiq and Uthman ibn Affan and Abu Hurairah and Abu Darda. But some other Sahaba did it later at night. They felt that they can wake up. And this is the better way, but only if you're sure that you're going to do it. So try to be on the safe side. But Prophet ﷺ told us that the later in the night, the better, because it is mashhuda. More angels witness that salah. And it is better. وَذَلِكَ أَفْضَلِ, he said, according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. But is it better to do the Taraweeh in Jama'ah or to do it at home alone? Now, scholars have differed on this matter. Some scholars said, no, it's better to do it in Jama'ah, and because there's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ has indicated to us, whoever prays behind the Imam until the Imam finishes, Allah will reward him for as if he was praying the whole night. But some scholars said, if somebody is a memorizer of the Quran, and he can find more khushu' if he prays alone than to pray in the masjid with the jama'ah, then better for him to pray it to pray it alone at home. Now, how many rak'at is Taraweeh? The best number of rak'at is what the Prophet ﷺ used to do on a regular basis, which is total of 8 rak'at of Taraweeh. Then the witr is 3 rak'at. The 8 rak'at of Taraweeh are divided into 2 rak'at, 2 rak'at, 2 rak'at, and 2 rak'at. Then the witr is divided into 2 rak'at, which is a shafa', and 1 rak'ah. This is the best way of doing it. But there is no limit really. You can do whatever number of rak'at, and this is why, for instance, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam al-Shafi'i, and Imam Ahmad, they felt that 20 rak'at and then witr of 3 is the best way to do it, because this is how Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu advised the Sahaba to do it, and this was almost like a consensus of the Sahaba. And it does not go against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ at all, because Prophet ﷺ himself, when he was asked, how can I pray at night by Bedouin? He says, how do I pray at night? He says, Salatul Layli mathna mathna. He says, you continue doing 2 rak'at and 2 rak'at and 2 rak'at. He didn't give him a limit. He says, but if you're afraid the Fajr will come, then conclude your Qiyamul Layl with 1 rak'ah, which is the witr. So Prophet ﷺ made it open. Verbally, he allowed it to be open, but he liked to do it that way. He liked to do it 8 rak'at and 3 rak'at. Sometimes he did 8 rak'at and 5 rak'at. That's 13. So he showed us practically that you can do more than the 8 rak'at. And the consensus of Sahaba at the time of Umar al-Khattab, he did 23 rak'at in total. Imam Malik actually felt that 36 rak'at would be the best. And I believe this was how Uthman ibn Affan did it, or advised the Sahaba to do it. Also, is it better to do it loud or to do it silent? If you're praying alone, whatever, silent I mean, doesn't mean silent that you just read with your eyes. No, silent, you have to verbalize. When you recite the Quran in Salah, there has to be some sound coming out. But silent I mean with a soft, low tone of voice or a high tone of voice that is loud. No, you can do whatever. You can do the loud or low tone of voice based on what allows you to attain more khushu'. But of course, if somebody is praying Imam, he has to do it loud for people to hear. If someone comes in masjid and they are doing Taraweeh and he has not prayed Isha, then what does he do? He goes and starts praying behind the Imam, and he puts that this is the niyyah for Isha. Although the Imam has a different niyyah, the Imam is doing niyyah of Taraweeh, he has the intention of Taraweeh, that is okay as well. Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu, he used to go pray the Isha with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but his tribe was outside of Medina. So he used to go back to his tribe and pray Sunnah while all his tribe are praying behind him the fard of Isha. So that is allowed, inshallah. What to read in the witr? The 3 rak'at of witr, the 2 and 1, better to read Sabbih Isma Rabbika al-A'la in the first rak'ah, Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun in the second rak'ah, and in the last rak'ah you read Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad. And then after you finish, there's a short, nice dhikr that you say, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus. You say it 3 times. There's an authentic hadith on this matter. If somebody has finished all his Qiyamul Layl and Witr, and then he woke up at night before Fajr and he wanted to do more rak'at, he is allowed to. Prophet ﷺ sometimes did his Qiyamul Layl and then woke up and he would do another 2 rak'at, and sometimes he would do it sitting even. He would do it sitting. Now, if somebody decided to sit in the Qiyamul Layl, that's allowed, because you are allowed to sit in any salah that is not a fard, even if you are able to stand. I'm saying even if you are able to stand. But if somebody is sick, yes, he is excused, he can sit. Now, if somebody is sick and he cannot stand in salah and he sat down, he gets a full reward, whether it's a fard or an optional sunnah salah or nafila salah. But if somebody is able to stand and decided to sit, he cannot do that in the fard, otherwise the fard is not acceptable. But he can do it in the nafil, the optional, supererogatory prayers, optional additional sunnah and nafil prayers. He can do that, but he only gets half the reward. Also, you can do the Qiyamul Layl from the Mus'haf. Many of us do not memorize much surahs, and we want to recite the whole Quran. If you want to, you can do that. You don't have to, but better for you to do that. Better for you to do the Khatma at least once, even twice if you can. The Sahaba used to recite in every night about 200 verses. They used to recite every night the length of Surah Al-Baqarah. So that's important. Some Sahaba used to bring sticks and stand and lean on the stick because they can't stand for that long. Even it is mentioned that some Sahaba, from the length of the Salah and from the fact that many of them did not have enough food, they were at times of hardship at the time. Some of them used to faint. So I'm just saying that they used to make so much effort, and that's a motivation for us. Yes, you can read from the Mus'haf. You can even read the Quran from the Mus'haf on your cell phone. Read, and that is fine, whether you're praying alone or you're the Imam. But if somebody is praying behind the Imam, he should not hold the Mus'haf, because then he will rely on the recitation of the Imam. Aisha radiallahu anha, she had a young boy, a servant at the house, who used to lead the Salah, and he used to recite from the Mus'haf while Aisha and the rest of the household stood behind her. Now, if you want to do dua, the qunut, and in the witr, you can do it before the ruku' or after the ruku'. Both are acceptable, but better not to do it every night. Better to do some nights yes and some nights no. And if you really want to do it regularly, that is mostly in the second half of Ramadan, the last 15 nights of Ramadan. If you make dua, then it is best for you to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, then make salah on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then you make your dua. If you finish the Quran in Ramadan, whether inside the salah or outside the salah, Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, when he used to complete the Quran, he used to make salam and then he used to sit or if he did the khatma outside of the salah, he used to sit down and call his household and used to make dua for them, because there is barakah in this matter. So you can do that as well. The Salat al-Qiyam or Layl or Taraweeh in general is not obligatory on Muslims, but it is very strongly encouraged. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us and help us and give us the strength to establish this act of worship. Thank you for watching.